All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Event Icons. This is episode 18, and the subject today is event ROI. If you are just joining us for the first time, Event Icons is a weekly show. We host it every Wednesday with a rotating host of guests. Typically, it's Will Curran of Endless Entertainment, Sean Holiday of Crowd Mics, and yours truly, Laura Lopez from Social Tables. Each week, we will have a just different host of guests on, talking about everything from technology to trends, anything in between in the events industry. And Event Icons is really your chance to have a casual conversation and learn more about the other event profs that are driving big changes here in the industry. So they're here to answer your questions. So this is just as much as your show as it is ours. So if you're just joining us, feel free to ask any questions or to the right-hand side and the chat box. We'll get through those. And we also have our own list of questions that we want to go through. So we'll tackle those in turn. So be sure to, over to the left-hand side, tell a little bird, click that button, and tweet out that you are live watching this blab and get a couple more people on board. And so, like I said, that will help get the conversation even bigger than it is right now. So this week, I'm very, very excited about our guests. We are joined by two people who are huge in the events industry. Guest number one is Josh Dry, who is the Business Development Manager over at ShowGizmo. I wonder if this is the very first guest that we've ever had from New Zealand. Actually, no, second, because Marie Claire. We had Marie Claire, the CEO. So we're very excited for Josh to join us. And if you're not familiar with ShowGizmo, we'll have Josh tell us a little bit more about it in a few, but it's a really, really great event app that's made by event professionals for event professionals. And here's a cool bio that I got. Josh is a typical easygoing Kiwi who enjoys all sport, going barefoot whenever possible, and the occasional beer. He's inspired by the concept of sustainable businesses and innovative technologies, and gets a buzz out of being a part of the young New Zealand business that that's taking its technology to events around the world. Josh has expertise in putting together social media strategies. Events for event profs, as well as attending, exhibiting, and speaking at events, and constantly monitors event professionals' channels to stay ahead of those trends in technology and social marketing. So welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah. And then our second guest, and Alex, I'm going to ask for a pronunciation of your last name. How do you say your last name?
It's Patriquin.
Patriquin?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't want to butcher it, to be totally honest. So, all right. So is Alex Patriquin, who is the creator of EventGeek. If you don't know EventGeek, you should. It's an amazing platform used for. Oh yeah, you should. You
lost
should know about it.
You make a vaporization tool. It's Blab. We vaporize hosts on Blab.
I just did it, man. Did you like that? Do you like that trick? That's how we do work. I'm just gonna pick it up where she was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patriquin, right?
Yeah.
Patrick.
Cool. So he's a creator of EventGeek. It's an amazing platform used for managing the small details of an event, project management type stuff that allows you to measure the ROI of your event. Alex is the founder and CEO of EventGeek, where they make delightful softwares, tools for events, marketers. Previously, Alex ran marketing at startups in online marketing, digital publishing, analytics, and ed tech. I'll have to pick your brain on ed tech. He has an MBA from Cornell's Johnson School and a BA in English from GW. I'm not familiar. What's GW?
George Washington.
Okay, George Washington. Cool.
DC.
And
Represent.
Alex grew up in Boston and once ran a 50K in the desert. Is that even possible?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Burning Man 50K.
Really?
Awesome.
What desert?
It was really fun.
Props.
There were a lot of breaks.
I'll give some props to that. Is it like a Ragnar type, like legs but you don't hand off, you just do it all yourself?
You do it all yourself. It takes a good while. I was out there for like 6 hours, 7 hours, but it's really fun because it's not really competitive. It's more just to have a great time. And the scenery is awesome.
That is intense, man. Well, anytime you want to come to Arizona, we got a lot of deserts. I'll give you some water. I'll video it the whole time. I'll get my GoPro and we'll just do another 50.
That would be a very boring GoPro, but I would love to do it.
Hey, we'll give it a shot, man. We'll give it a shot. Well, cool. Excited to have both you guys on. Actually, I know Josh very well. We talk every week. We're buddies, so this should be pretty easy. And Alex, we've got the beard connection, man. The facial hair. It's working today, and I like that. So, first question: what got you into the industry? Josh, let us know kind of when you started and what appealed to you and what got you in.
Cool. Oh, welcome, Laura. She's back.
Sorry. My bad.
Table flip.
Yeah.
What got me into the industry? So straight out of university, which is college for you guys, I went into a ticketing company. So me and some co-founders, which are my friends, we basically saw that there was a really annoying part of the ticketing industry where ticketing companies would have these absorbent fees where they would charge you to basically print off your own ticket at home. They would charge you for sending you a ticket in the mail or getting you to pick it up. So we wanted to come to the industry and sort of change that, flip it on its head. So we came up with the first paperless ticketing system where you could purchase tickets and it would go straight onto your app. So we had the first ticketing app, first paperless ticketing system in the country. And then that was sort of where I got the events bug, obviously attending festivals, gigs, a lot of events like that. From there, I moved into ShowGizmo. So 5 years ago, I was the first employee into ShowGizmo, came on board as sort of a brand ambassador and marketer. And being a small company, obviously wear a lot of hats, did a lot of different things. I've been speaking, sort of now got a sales role and sort of work with a lot of our sales team around the world. And yeah, haven't looked back. So we're obviously a bit more corporate, working a lot of more conferences opposed to gigs and festivals, but still love the industry just as much.
That's awesome, man. How long have you been with ShowGizmo? Give us a little background on ShowGizmo while we're here.
5 years. So ShowGizmo started up from two co-founders here, Mary Claire, who was on the show a couple months ago, last month, and Francis. So two ladies here in the country who started the business up. They were running online events and they wanted virtual events. So they wanted a way of getting information to attendees, and basically they came up with the app idea. So from there, we started providing apps to conferences, events in New Zealand, Australia, and then it spread out around the world. So yeah, built by event professionals. As Laura mentioned before, our sort of mantra is hiring event professionals, people that have been in the industry, who know the industry, and can really shape our product and provide it to people like themselves who run events around the world.
Perfect, man. Good little intro. Alex, give us some background. What got you into the industry, and then kind of give us a heads up on where you're at right now.
Sure, yeah. So about 2 years ago, I started working at a startup, and my background is in digital and online. And I got to the startup. It was a small startup, well-funded, and we started to work on digital, and the CEO said, "We want you to also take over the event marketing." And I said, "Sure, no problem." And quite honestly, I had no idea what I was getting into. It was quickly overwhelming, quickly became my only job, managing events. And I tried to look around for help. So I was really looking for tools and people. And people were no problem, but basically all the tools out there weren't really right for what we were doing, which was sponsoring and exhibiting at conferences. Mostly the apps out there were for selling tickets or publishing a website. There's some social networking, but really for the attendees and the relationships with the attendees, and nothing really for the teams behind the scenes. So I hacked together a couple of spreadsheets together, which I think is like what most event organizers and planners do. But it was quickly clear like there should be a better solution. We talked to a few people and they kind of confirmed that. So we started hacking together a few ideas and went through a few iterations and things, and then we found something that people really seemed to like, and started with that, and we've been doing that since.
I love it, man. And how long have you guys been doing EventGeek itself?
We have been in private beta since November.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
When do you plan on going not private? Not private beta.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably launch in the next couple of months. Actually, you can sign up today if you want. There's some features that we have flagged that aren't available, but if you want to check out the software, you can just go to our site, eventgeek.com, and sign up.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So let's see. So today's theme is event ROI, which you can measure the ROI from both ShowGizmo and EventGeek. So my first question to both of you, I guess we'll start with Alex this time. How can you use technology to measure ROI aside from your tool, or maybe explain to us how your tool works in measuring ROI? And if you have any other tools that you used to measure event ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll talk about EventGeek first, since that's concrete, and then we can transition into, I think, more of the larger picture. So, EventGeek actually doesn't measure ROI directly. We don't have any registration features or any features really to interface directly with attendees. We would integrate with an app like ShowGizmo, or a registration platform like EventGeek, a CRM like Salesforce, survey like SurveyMonkey, commerce like Square for transactions on site, social platforms. Basically, any data source you can plug into EventGeek, and then you can begin to construct the kind of 360 picture of ROI from your events. So bigger picture, events typically represent the largest category of the marketing budget, probably about 30% for most companies. And they're treated as a cost center. So no one is really thinking about ROI from their events in the same kind of analytical, quantitative ways that they are for like online channels, like search marketing, for example, is probably the most quantitative. So I think that's a missed opportunity. I think now that we're seeing mobile really ubiquitous in events, and we're starting to see IoT come online, and we're also starting to see the integration of lots of data sources. We're really starting to get the capabilities to see event ROI. And I think that holds a lot of potential for the industry. And we work with companies like Envision. We're very forward-thinking, very design-oriented companies. And I think they're iconic in that they're doing their absolute best to create an experience, and they're now connecting with EventGeek that experience to Salesforce, to their CRM, to really starting to piece together, okay, well, what are the interactions, what are the experiences that are driving our business results? And those are the sorts of insights that you really need a integrated data platform to deliver, because it's not just how many tickets did we sell or what was this lead in Salesforce. It's kind of the full spectrum of interaction across CRM, social, e-commerce, survey, custom sources, like what's happening in your app if you're an app company. So that's our perspective on it and what we do.
That's
Awesome.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead. There's quite a bit of an echo. Oh, Alex, it might be you because you don't have headphones.
Oh, sorry.
I suppose to jump in there, after Alex is talking about obviously return on investment for organizers, which is obviously so important. I read a quote that say very recently, which said you don't get return on investment for events, you get it for your stakeholders. And I think that's, that rings so true that, you are running these events for the people involved. Who are you running it for? And in regards to a sponsor exhibitor thing, as Alex mentioned earlier, we do a lot of sponsoring as well. We do a lot of exhibiting at these events, and return on investment for a sponsor or an exhibitor it's about getting your brand out there, getting your company or your product seen, getting that awareness out there. And there's a lot of tools that can measure these things. So through social media, things like Twitter analytics are huge. You're sending people to your website, getting your Google Analytics, getting that back's huge. If you're using an event app, they have full analytics on basically every time somebody touches the app. I think that's really important. So you're talking about that awareness, but when you're at an event, it's so hard for organizers to pass it on. Obviously, if you have leads, you can transfer that. We go to an event and we say, hey, look, this is going to be how much money it's going to be for us to spend, to be there, to have our people on site, travel costs, etc. You translate that into, your acquisition cost. So a lot of people do that, obviously, while exhibiting an event or making the decision to exhibit. And we take that acquisition cost and we compare it to something like Google Ads. We do a lot of advertising through Google, as I'm sure a lot of companies do. Through there, you can get a perfect acquisition cost. You can see how many people are going to your website, how many people have clicked on your links, how many people have had impressions from those ads. And I think impressions is something really hard to get as an exhibitor or a sponsor at an event. However, one thing I'd love to talk about is beacons, so little Bluetooth devices. And this is a piece of technology that really allows event organizers to pass on those impressions to their exhibitors, to their organizers. So for those who aren't aware, I've actually got a little one here. So this is who we use. This is Estimote. This is a little Bluetooth beacon. So with these, you have the potential to send out location-based messages. So over a trade show, if someone walks past an exhibitor, a sponsor or an exhibitor, you can pop out a message that will appear on their phone based on the location. The cool thing these days is that you can actually cover a whole trade show floor, a whole event space with beacons, with the proximity that they can send out a message. So the organizers can actually measure traffic flows, congestion points, how long they stayed in a certain area, where they moved to next. And all of that information is perfect information to pass over to an exhibitor, to a sponsor, to say, hey, look, this is how many people, this is how many impressions you actually got, this is how many people walked past your booth. And that is something that hasn't been available and now is to organizers to pass on. And I think that's a perfect return on investment for exhibitors, sponsors who are attending shows to see those numbers of impressions.
Ooh, that's a point. That brings me to the next point. So I guess I have actually never used a beacon before. That's gonna just full confession time. I've never used a beacon. So our events are actually not big enough. I mean, they're not big enough to have, to really justify the cost. But for some of those really big events, whoever is maybe organizing Cater Source or the special event or IMEX Frankfurt, I can definitely see the need for something like a beacon. So I guess in my next question here, how can, and I'll elaborate on this. So how can an event measure its ROI if it's not charging for entry? And to add to that, if maybe an event organizer doesn't have that much money in their budget for technology, where can they really leverage technology the best in order to measure ROI? So that's like twofold there. How can you measure event ROI if we're not charging for entry, if it's not tickets sold? And then also, how can planners, if they don't have a whole lot of money allotted to event technology, where can they leverage technology best, or where should they leverage technology? And I guess we'll start with you, Josh.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine. I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Look, I've been lucky enough to work on a few event camps. So we've actually organized and run 3 event camps around the world. For people that aren't familiar with the event camp model, it was created via event professionals and the hashtag event profs online. So if you are into Twitter, if you are into following event professionals, please have a look at the event profs hashtag. It's a really great community of event professionals around the world. And basically they came up with an idea of running an event from event professionals for event professionals to discuss the latest trends, the latest technologies. We saw these happening around the world and thought that's perfect domain for us. That's where we want to be. So I have ended up running 3 of these. We ran them hybrid. You hear me talk about hybrid a lot. I'm a big fan in live stream, big fan in hybrid events. We had an in-room audience, we had in-room speakers. We also had an online audience and online speakers and connected them around the world. These events are run out of no budget. There is no cost. There are no cost to attendees, either online or in the room. And we basically run them out of the generosity of putting on these events. For us as a company, we were investing our time. So it was my time to organize and manage and run this event. And then our return on that investment was obviously brand awareness. Was it being positioned inside with these event professionals, a company that was talking about bringing together the latest trends and technologies, you know, helping educate the industry. So not only were we positioning ourselves as a brand that was, you know, concerned and interested in those sorts of things, but we had our event app in place. So ShowGizmo, like any other event app, is a really good marriage for hybrid events. Because you have people online around the world, you can't hand them a handbook, you can't get them information. So having an event app allows the people all around the world to connect, message speakers, connect with speakers just like they were in their room, send in their questions as well. So not only did we get brand awareness out of that event, but we also got you know, large numbers around the world using. So it was a live product demonstration, live product use of our product as well. So for no investment on our behalf, apart from time, for no cost, we still got really good brand awareness and also use of our product by hundreds of event planners around the world. So for us, that was, you know, a really great event run with no budget, with a great return.
All right. And Alex, what do you think? How do you measure a ROI if you're not charging for entry? Like you mentioned a little bit earlier that you can actually track leads if you're integrating Salesforce into EventGeek. But I guess the second part, which I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on, is how can a planner leverage technology at their event if they have little to no budget to allot to technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. Technology is expensive.
I would know. You would know. We would all know.
Yeah, I mean, well, some technology is like really expensive, and then some of it is free, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So for event planners, organizers, hosts specifically, I mean, I think the highest leverage thing is having something creative and integrated. So just tacking on like an app to network with other attendees at a conference is probably not going to work unless there's a bit more of an incentive for folks to download it and to engage in it, and if it's really integrated into the agenda and panels. And then if it is, I think it not just might actually work, it might actually make or break a conference. So I think the implementation is really important, and creative implementation is what gets people's attention. If you say like, oh, just use this hashtag or go download this app or something, people will probably just tune it out because there's so much else for them to distract their attention with. So for planners who don't have a lot of money, I think like their creativity is like free and it's endless, right? So so I would start there. And then there's like so many free tools, right? Like Google Forms, Typeform. These are like great sources of data for lead capture, for getting insights. And then social is free as well. So those are both awesome tools, and everybody has a phone. So yeah, I would start for like the least expensive things and work within constraints to come up with something really creative. You know, we have customers who are on a tight budget and who who don't have a lot of money for like a slick engagement app, but they have an iPad that they have lying around at home, and they can use a WYSIWYG editor to drag and drop a good looking form together in Squarespace or in Google Forms, and then trade people like some gift for giving insight on site, some little gift, or maybe like some kind of exclusive offer in partnership with a vendor that could be like very compelling and also very quantifiable. And the vendor is probably looking to get audience and interactions as well. So thinking creatively about like what are the vendors that I could partner with here who do have budget, and integrating them into the kind of technology side of it. That could be very cool.
I love it. So I kind of want to shift a little more to hard tech. Let's get from that was the low kind of nothing to really the hard tech. And as we kind of the topic came up, event ROI, I think there's different ways to, like, my mind's just wondering, are we talking about attendee ROI? Because attendee and exhibitor ROI are completely different, right? The exhibitor has a hard number that they've got to get across their booth. And I think, Alex, on the low end, like you were saying, we came with 20 bobbleheads and we gave 20 bobbleheads out. There's 20 touch points. Like, that's very raw data, like, and very basic. You don't need someone an EventGeek platform or ShowGizmo to tell me that I had 20 and I don't have any, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you present, like, how and I'm kind of more asking this curiously, like, what's the best way to present kind of both points? Like the ROI of an attendee, like, I'm coming and I want to experience with a smooth app that, like you said, let me talk to other people and participate in the session and those types of things, and serve up a nice kind of metric of all the other things that are going on, like, you know, how many attendees registered but then showed up, how many beacons were touched in this expo hall. So Josh, kind of give me an idea, just how do you present to planners, and there's a lot of planners here, you know, in the room, to give them just a smooth kind of both touch points? And how do you attack both touch points? I mean, how does that look?
Yeah, I think you go back to the crux of why you're running that event. There's definitely ROI for all those stakeholders, as we mentioned, but it's why are you running the event? Is it for attendees? Are you trying to put on an experience, an engaging, interacting, networking event for your attendees? Or are you trying to, you know, get money from sponsors so that the event can just exist the next year? So you have to look after your sponsors. In regards to all of them, I think it's pivotal to gather that information post-event, and go through all the analytical data, go through all of the metrics that you mentioned, the app analytics, the social media analytics, the website hits, but then also take that anecdotal feedback, you know, gather that from all of your stakeholders, interview them, talk to your management, talk to your team, and put it all together, and provide a case for why you're running the event. Is it a success for all these parties? If it's not, how are we going to pick up on that? So I think it's really important to, just debrief following that first event and really ensure that you are ticking the boxes for all of your stakeholders involved.
Yeah, Alex, jump in, and then I've got a follow-up question as well.
I also have a follow-up question too, but you go first.
Sure. What was the question?
Just what, how do you serve up, as a planner, somebody sitting here planning events, the ROI of an attendee, experience, and then the ROI from more of a marketer,
okay.
Exhibitor,
yeah. So every
you look at both, or do you just look at one? I mean, do you just sit down with your client and say, we're just going to do exhibitor ROI? You know what I mean?
It depends who our client is. So we work with both hosts and sponsors. We work with everyone involved in event production, really.
Let me kind of clarify the question a little bit. This is about the 7th part of the question, maybe 8th part. So just hang with me on this. What I guess where I'm trying to get to is what do you have more clients coming to want? Do they want ROI from the attendance, like attendees saying, man, this was the best event in the world? Or is it more, I want ROI for my sponsors and exhibitors, so just give me that raw data? What do you see there, Alex?
So mostly we work with companies that have kind of higher level goals. So they want to move their business forward. So if they're a software company, they want more subscriptions. If they're a product company, they want to sell more product. So we try to think about events and field marketing as closely tied to their ultimate business goals as we can. So metrics like number of attendees, even social mentions and leads are really all aligned along that, for us, along this spectrum of like, okay, is it moving our business forward in a very quantifiable way? And for some companies, for brands, it's much more about audience and reach.
Yeah.
and actually like, you know, we're going to give away 2 million bobbleheads, not just 20.
Exactly.
So like, do we actually get them out? Which cities got the most bobbleheads? Who got the most tweets per bobblehead?
That's exactly right.
So it's like the kind of crazy analytics that we can produce that, you know, having a very flexible platform that kind of works with every stakeholder in an event, like, you know, all the different roles. You know, we have flexibility to say like, okay, as an organizer, I really care about ticket sales. Like, that's my focus, and I want sponsorship dollars, which I may be managing with my CRM. And it's cool to get recognition from social as well. For a brand, it's, you know, more about sampling, footprint, and social. For a B2B company, it's more about leads and sales. It's like a trade show. So those are like the three primary personas, I would say.
Okay.
But, you know, events are awesome, right? They're this like spontaneous, often, you know, or not always spontaneous, but like they're some are very, very planned, down to the minute. And we help with that too. But events are awesome because they bring together people with so many different perspectives. So so we try and support the folks with budget who want to track that budget and then ensure it's maximized for its return.
Agreed. Real quick before Josh jumps in, real quick, how many data points are you taking? So it sounded like Twitter, you know, kind of social mentions, hard, you know, bobblehead out of the exhibitor hall, you know, number, attendee, like how many attendance, you know, attendee people are in the actual room, like how many other?
Yeah. Well, we have an open platform, so there's like no limit on the number of different types of metrics that you could write to our API. But the major categories we see are registration, obviously, CRM, social, survey, and commerce. And then we have a custom category which would work for like IoT and basically anything else. You can write any data to it that you'd like.
Awesome.
This brings me to my next point. Does anybody, and I guess we'll start with you, Alex, ever have clients who ask you to help them measure the ROI of the experience, since events are all about experiences? And how do you go about measuring that? What's sort of a kind of, you know, tough to nail down?
Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah, I think like that's ultimately our ambition, is to be able to like really understand how branding works with experiences. So right now the two primary channels are social and survey. And we can do things like look at, you know, lifts afterwards, after an event. But social and survey are in the moment, ideally. And so those are kind of our last resort. So for us, we also have a project management app. So people are actually not just measuring ROI, but they're planning all of their experiences, like all of the logistics, right? Like the venues, the vendors, the printing, the shipping, the budgeting. We do all of that as well. We have a like kind of a Google spreadsheet almost that's set up specifically for events. So we're starting to see some very interesting insights, like kind of across our platform. So comparing what folks are doing in terms of experiences, indoor, outdoor, that sort of questions, weekend, weekday. So as we grow, I'm hopeful we can leverage that data to drive more insight into how do you look at the ROI of a very branding-focused experience, community-focused experience versus something that has a transaction close to it.
And I will pose a question to you next, Josh. So you had mentioned a little bit earlier that sometimes you'll have a client that will ask for, or you'll sort of do a debrief and then, you know, kind of count up, you know, anecdotally, this was the experience of the attendee. How do you actually track those metrics anecdotally of your attendees, and what are sort of some of those data points, sort of like what Sean mentioned earlier, that you are tracking when it comes to the event experience?
Yeah, cool. I suppose I want to go back to just firstly how important it is to have good event experiences. As I said, I'm a big fan of hybrid and online events, and it's so easy with technology these days. So many events are going online. and allowing people to connect online for free and to have these event experiences whilst being online and not going on site. And I have a lot of these discussions with a lot of my event professional friends in regards to, you know, hybrid events, and some people still think they are replacing face-to-face. And look, they're not going to replace face-to-face. You're never going to get rid of the shaking of the hands, the smell of the coffee at an event. But I think it's just pivotal these days that event organizers do focus on the experience so much. And that's just a little thing I just want to clarify, that making it a great event experience is so important these days because it's so easy to go online. I've got a little example here. And look, I've been involved in a few TEDx events, so I'm sure everyone's familiar with the TEDx brand. In Wellington here, we've got TEDx Te Aro. 2 years ago, I was part of the organizing committee there. Great events to be a part of. They had a really interesting moment where this was measured hugely online, and they could see that the key experience that everyone had was so far outweighed everything else. So as you can imagine, at TEDx, they have so many great speakers. At the end of one of the sessions, they said, look, outside there's going to be free hugs in the foyer. And everyone was a bit worried. Everyone was like, oh, hugging strangers, this is going to be awkward. This is going to be weird. They walked out into the foyer and there was puppies. There was a ring of puppies that they provided, and it was puppies. And you can imagine what was the one moment on social media that absolutely trended and spiked everyone, right? So this is the one thing everyone's taking photos, posting across their channels, and completely measurable. You know, as Alex was talking about before, you know, social metrics is so easy to gather, very easy to also monitor what was that one experience. And you can see that they're going to be doing this from now on, and that so many event organizers would have seen this moment and they're going to be taking this and replicating that at their events. So yeah, that was one moment that just obviously peaked, and you got all these great speakers there, and what everyone was talking about was hugging puppies.
Yeah. If I could jump in, like we've worked with Uber NYC on Uber Kittens, and like
Ooh, you are so lucky.
Yeah, for all the, so there's a great event hack. Get puppies and kittens, like.
Oh no!
Yeah, but I
Sean,
think
we
it's a
can't
good
hear your
question.
audio.
Like, we can't.
I muted myself. I just said I could
Oh, there you go.
I could see Alex just snuggling on a little puppy.
We got to get one here at the office.
Yeah, seriously. Make that happen. Where's get your Uber, man. Get your Uber over there.
Oh, I know. I wish they would do that.
So another quick question that Laura had thought about, ROI, we're all talking about tools and ways to do it. I think part of ROI is memory, right? This sounds like a very memorable thing. And when they walked out of there, they're thinking, was going to have to hug something, and it turned out to be this cool puppy. What's the most memorable thing, Josh, for you from an event? Just your most memorable event experience. Maybe it was that.
Yeah, beyond puppies.
Yeah, maybe it was the puppy. Maybe it was that topped it.
All right, Sean. Well, I was at an event recently. It was an association for association managers. We do a lot of work in the association market. It was an event, and we brought together, we were a part of it, and we were sponsoring a room. So we had a seminar room. During the session, we had the ability during the Q&A session for the attendees to actually send in messages to the presenter, the moderator who was actually running the event. Not only could they text in their questions so it was anonymous, but they also had the potential to talk through their device. So they could actually pick up their smartphone, talk over their smartphone through the AV system.
That's a weird idea.
And amazing, right? So to me, that was a huge benefit at that event, provided an amazing experience. And then we had all these people in the room going away telling people about this amazing magic that they'd seen at an event where people could actually talk through their smartphones as a microphone at an event.
Man, I want to find that. Send me a link.
We should get onto that. Yeah.
Send me a link. I think Crowd Mics, I think, is what the name of their. Oh wait, there it is. Awesome, man. I love it. Alex, what about you, man? What's a memorable event for you, or moment at an event?
Yeah, totally. So, gosh, there's been a lot. I think. So probably, like, honestly, the most memorable moments have been at Burning Man, because it's just crazy, and like there's so much. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been, but like I think actually there's a lot to learn from it as an event planner. It's so participatory. They have these like 10 principles, and one of them is participation. I think that's so interesting. Like if you look at, South by, they have their panel picker. I think the events that really embrace participation and community and the programming and the setup, those are the events that I've always felt like the most energized by the experience. And like Burning Man obviously takes that to another level that's probably, not appropriate for most company events. But I think there's a lot to learn from it. I was part of this camp. There are these camps or these groups of people who hang out together and build stuff. And we built like a mobile version of Bourbon Street on a
wow.
And it was on an old giant RV. Cut the top off and like created wrought iron trellises and drove it around the desert. And I mean, it was wildly unsafe and like would never have like passed like corporate or like any real executive review for the insurance policies alone. But I think that there's like a lot to learn from that. I mean, I think like South by does an obviously great job with the panel picker and the agenda, and then crowd mics, enabling people to really participate with technology and integrating it in a seamless experience. That participation factor is, I think, the most interesting from both a technology and an experience point of view.
I appreciate that, man. It's awesome. I was going to ask really quick, actually, do you play much in that world, Alex, of like outside of your traditional corporate, big, beautiful expo hall, multi-million-dollar, I mean, some of these booths,
yeah.
At Infocom, these booths themselves are like double-decker, $500,000 booths. I mean, do you play in like the Burning Man like world where you provide some software or registration or some way to track like even just Twitter social stuff?
Yeah, actually, it's a great question. Thanks for asking. We actually have like a printing feature.
Okay.
Like event planners, even those that go to Burning Man, love to print stuff. And there's no Wi-Fi in the desert, and there's often no Wi-Fi in like the Marriott.
That'll be our next show about
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's
Josh
sometimes
can
it's like exorbitantly priced. So event planners need to print stuff, and so that's part of what we do. Is like we enable you to like take that Google Doc or that Microsoft Word doc where you've got like crazy formatting, and we allow you to like pull that together in a really nice, easy to use, structured way. Where all that data is relatable, and you can click and drag it and print it off and take it with you to the show. So yeah, we do that for a lot of events, a lot of large-scale events, CES, major installations. Lots of the times companies will work with us as like an intermediary between like us and like a GES or a Freeman, and it'll be like a friendlier interface to working with. I mean, those are very amazing companies at what they do. They've got decades of experience and setups, and but sometimes they don't have quite the level of like user-friendly UI that that like a company with the budget to do a CES would like, especially for like the executives, the folks who aren't rolling up their sleeves and involved very closely in the setup. So for those kind of marketers who do a Dreamforce or a CES and have a huge installation, we offer kind of a nice friendly UI to all the logistics.
Love it.
Great.
And printing.
Printing
in the desert.
Yeah.
You gotta print it.
I used to be like you. I used to say like down with printing as well, but we've kind of seen the light that like
it's not going away.
Not going away. Yeah, it's not. It's just so we've embraced it. Yeah, but I hear you. When the Wi-Fi is like global and plentiful, then let's save the trees.
Yeah. So we have a couple minutes left. So one other question I have is, what one tip do you all have for planners in 2016? It could be anything at all. So Josh, we'll start with you. One tip do you have for planners?
Use an event app.
Nice.
Yep.
What's a good app that you would suggest? Any ideas?
I think There's a good one there.
MC,
yeah, I mean, look,
check real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, look, there's enough space for all of us. Look, we work with event organizers obviously to provide value at their events. Like as Alex mentioned earlier in the conversation, you know, it's not about just ticking a box. You know, like you got your flowers, you got your Wi-Fi, you got an event app. You have to bring it into the core of the event. You need to know what's going to work for your audience, know the features, and deploy them in the right way, communicate them in the right way. Ensure you're talking about the right feature. But yeah, look, it's 2016. They still say that only 20% of the world's events have used event apps. So there's a huge amount of growth potential in the industry. But all your attendees have the most powerful device in their pocket. Why not utilize those features? So yeah, look, use an event app, but use it in the right way as well.
All right, and Alex, what about you? What's your one tip that you have for planners?
I mean, I have to say use EventGeek.
Those words, use EventGeek.
That's, yeah, my duty. Yeah, I mean, we seriously though, we'd love people's feedback. You know, we're always listening, and you know, I think a lot of folks have their printouts, their checklists, and they maybe have tried an app like a project management app before, but haven't found it fits. We think we've found something that fits, but we're still refining it, and we'd love to get everybody's feedback. And feel free to reach out to me personally. It's Alex at EventGeek. Would love to chat about how you guys are organizing your events, and if you see an opportunity to make your team enjoy it more, have more less confusion and more enjoyment in the project management, the logistics side of doing those events.
Great. And then that brings me to another point here. Where can people find you both online? Alex, we have your email address, but where else can people find you and EventGeek?
EventGeek.com, and I personally am on Twitter at @Patrick. And yeah, and pretty accessible. Just Google me. There's plenty of ways to get in touch with me on there.
Cool. And Josh, what about you? Where can people find you on the internet?
Cool. You can see just there at ShowGizmo.com if you're on Twitter. Otherwise, yeah, www.showgizmo.com. We have event professionals around the world that work into the local markets, into those countries as well. So if you want to talk to one of our team that is closest to you, jump on our website. We've got a list of all our staff there. Or be willing to catch up with any people, talk about their events and how we can deploy some great event tech at their next event. Perfect.
All right. Sean, do you have anything you'd like to add?
What are some, I guess, one of the last questions here. What's your favorite tool or resource? I'm taking Laura's thunder. I'm just pulling it. What's your favorite tool or resource? Just kind of what's your day, like your go-to Slack or whatever it may be that's just like key to your success? Josh, what do you work with?
I think, so for us, it's really important to be up with the trends, to keep our finger on the pulse, so to speak. So all of our developers, they're all up early hours watching the Apple events. We follow a lot of blogs. Event Profs hashtag, as I mentioned earlier, is a really good community for people on Twitter. You find great commentators there like Corbin Ball, one of our good friends who talks about event technology. Event Manager blog, shout out Julius Solaris, really good resource for a lot of blogs about event management. So in regards to that, I mean, following us as well. So we do that. We decipher all of this information around the world and put it into our monthly newsletter. So we're firing out, the latest things we've seen, the coolest things that we've seen in regards to event technology, put that out in our blog. Otherwise, tool-wise, look, I touched on beacons. I still think beacons have got a huge opportunity in the events industry to really take it by storm. They're getting really big in retail, really big in supermarkets, but I think the events industry's got a long way to go in regards to, Bluetooth and location-based messaging. Otherwise, as I keep saying, a big thing for me is hybrid events, live streaming, and Periscope is an app that's just so useful. It's a free tool to really stream your events, get a lot of brand awareness, get people online watching your event from all around the world. And I think, again, Periscope is another tool that's got a really huge opportunity there. But again, look, talking about both what Alex and I have mentioned, it's about using the tools that are relevant for you. If you've got a small AGM, maybe Periscope may not be the right thing. If you've got an internal conference, you may not want to be using Bluetooth beacons. It's about making it relevant for your event. One of our clients just recently, and this is a really cool idea, Alex also mentioned Google Docs earlier. We had a client who they really wanted to increase the note-taking potential. We have note-taking in our apps, but they really wanted to make it a bit different. And what we did was use a solution that's been around for a long time, Google Docs. And we put Google Docs links into each session. And what we did is we allowed the crowd to crowdsource those notes, and everybody was collaborating on those notes. So you would jump into a session and you click on the note-taking link, and there'd be 20 to 30 people collaborating on the same notes in the same sessions, all dropping links, all making their own commentary. And that was great, because that's a great solution to to something that they wanted to achieve, a tool that's already out there, that's widely used and easy, free. So that was a great solution. So I think it's about knowing what's out there and following people that do know what's out there, but taking the things that are best for your event as well.
Very cool. Alex, what about you? What resources do you have?
Periscope, definitely very cool. Snapchat as well, taking off, or taken off. Typeform is awesome as well. It's like a branded version of Google Forms, but I think it delivers a higher response rate, especially on mobile, just because it's so responsive. There's a lot of event apps out there. It's really quite an innovative space, and I think it's going to be really interesting in the next few years as we get more IoT, more beacons. Looking forward to seeing some breakout hits. I think there's still some work to do on the privacy side, figuring out what's the right balance. But you've got Facebook Live video now too. Really introducing people to the idea of kind of always on sharing. So should be interesting.
Very cool. Well, thank you both for joining us today and sharing your resources and your industry knowledge. Round of applause. Thank you to everybody for joining us today on this edition of Event Icons. Like I mentioned earlier, if you joined us halfway through today's recording, we do this every single week. It's a weekly show where you can chat with other event icons from around the business and around the world, because we have people like Josh joining us from halfway around the world. So join us next week. We will be announcing the guests very shortly. And if you have a suggestion for somebody that you'd like to see on Event Icons, be sure to shoot us a tweet. Our Twitter handles are right up above. And also be sure to hit up Will Curran, who typically leads Event Icons. He is at It's Will Curran. And until then, we will see you all next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
See ya.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.